It's time to pick a side. The Border War is on the air with BG and 10. All right, true believers, welcome in to our number 2 of the Border War for February the 7th. This is BG. I'm here with Tan Man. You can follow us on Twitter at The Border War. You can follow me at BG_Border War. And you can follow Tan Man at TanMan3264. Email us at CarolinaBorderWar@gmail.com. Like and download us through the Spreaker app on your smartphone. And like and share the Border War on Facebook. And if you've got friends that aren't listening, don't feel like, you don't have to be polite about it. I mean, I'm all for telling them, if you're not listening to the Border War, then you're a terrible person. I mean, I'm okay with that because it's true. Anybody who's not listening to the Border, if you're listening to crappy local radio instead of listening to us, you're a terrible person. And obviously you're not, because you're listening to us. Otherwise you didn't hear me say that. But
I think that is, I think it's pretty spot on. It's so spot on, man. So spot on.
Thanks for that.
So spot on.
Thanks for that.
Thank you, man. Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, let's get a picture with Zion Williamson real quick.
Yeah,
I know his mom's standing there. We'll knock her over.
Show some children out of the way.
Let's get a picture because we need our ego stoked. Actually, we don't. The only time Tan Man and I got a picture with Zion Williamson, we waited behind a long line of people until it became absurd, and then we shoved people out of the way. But we tried.
I ran to the front of the line
as fast
as I could.
It was a nice stiff arm. I remember. I didn't realize you had those kind of moves. All right.
You do.
So, Tan Man, we're going to start in your favorite little area here, your safe zone, college basketball.
Yeah.
Better week for you.
Yeah, we had a good week.
Had
a better week.
Obviously, we're going into the center of the universe for North Carolina and Duke basketball fans. We've got the big game coming up. One of two, right? You play them twice.
Play them twice, maybe 3 times. We'll see.
So start off here by catching us up on ACC and SEC basketball standings. I'm going to leave the room because there's nothing for me to hear in this, and I'm not happy. But go ahead.
Well, I mean, if we went down team by team, somewhere around 8 o'clock, we would finally get to the Gamecocks.
That's great. Hit your little laugh button. Go ahead, hit your laugh button. That's great.
The ACC regular season.
Cheap, classless humor.
Well, that's what I'm all about. The ACC regular season is pretty much a wrap right now. If you look at the standings, you got Virginia still undefeated at 11-0, followed by Clemson at 8-3 right now, second place. Maybe.
Well, look, we've the point at which Clemson was a question mark's been over with.
Yeah.
At this point, it's just a question of how far can they go.
Yeah, but behind Clemson, you've got Duke at 7-3, and then you start getting into that log jam between 6-4 and 4-6. You know, you've got Miami, you've got NC State, Florida State, and then North Carolina at 6-5, and Louisville at 6-5, and then an interesting one, Virginia Tech at 5-5, and then after that, it kind of drops off a little. On the SEC side, the shocker right up there with Clemson, Auburn, leading the conference right now at 9-1, Tennessee at 8-3, and then you start getting into the log jam of the SEC, where you've got about 8 or 9 teams within 2 games of one another. Somewhere in that mix is Kentucky, who's at 6-5 after their loss the other night to Tennessee. Alabama's in there, Arkansas's in there, and then you go all the way down.
That was a loss at home to Tennessee.
It was at home to Tennessee, but then you go down and down and down and down and down.
Oh, my word. Would you stop?
Down and down and down. And at some point, you'll get to South Carolina at 4-7 down there. So right now, Auburn and Tennessee battling it out. I did see one thing that said the best odds to get the 4th number 1 seed right now are between Xavier and Tennessee. I think they said Tennessee's got the easiest schedule remaining of that team's kind of in that run.
That's awful.
Yeah, but
not a lot of schools I detest more than Tennessee. Not a lot.
I don't like Tennessee, but for some reason I kind of like this Tennessee basketball
What
team.
A shock!
I don't know.
Why don't you get yourself a pennant hanging up
Maybe
in
I
this
will.
god-awful room of yours?
Maybe I will.
Add that to your list of...
Why don't you just enjoy playing on Monday your conference tournament? How's that?
Ha 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 ha. Okay.
Enjoy your Monday conference tournament basketball.
I hope you enjoy losing to Duke.
Well, we're not, but whatever. We'll get to that later on.
No, it's next up on the list.
Well,
unless you've got something you want to.
Not the picks. I don't have to make a pick now.
Okay. Well, is there anything about the ACC or SEC standings that is noteworthy to you? The thing that I noticed when you were reading the ACC standings, and all those teams in that logjam have shown they're like that boxer who you probably can beat, but he's got that chance of knocking you out cold with one punch. All of those teams, Florida State, Virginia Tech, Miami, all of those teams,
you catch them on
North
the right
Carolina
night.
State, man, if you catch them on the wrong night, they'll take you out. They'll take out anybody. And they're all going to do it at least one more time this year to somebody, somewhere.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what makes it great. Yeah, because you get the
Hopefully
matchups
it's
you
not
want.
Saturday.
Yeah.
Hate losing NC State.
Well, I mean, I can see why. I can see why they're
stink.
technically a rival of yours. I know you want to claim it.
Me?
You.
They want to claim the rivalry.
That's what I'm saying. I know you don't want to claim it as a rivalry, but it's
now we moved on from state. The biggest rivalry in my opinion in all of sports, not just basketball, all of sports, North Carolina and Duke. Man, is there a better rivalry anywhere across any sport in the country?
Okay, so
in the world.
Let's list other possible choices. So I'll start with the Yankees and the Red Sox. I think that rivalry has gotten watered down by the sheer number of players that have played for both teams. And the fact that they play 75 times a game.
19 times a year.
Yeah, and I don't think anybody in the South cares about it. For a long time, it felt like Major League Baseball and ESPN were just trying to jam that down everybody else's throat.
Well, it didn't feel like that. They were doing that.
They were doing that.
It was happening.
So that's off the table. Let's stick with the pros.
Well, look, you get Cowboys, Redskins, of course, but that to me that doesn't reach this level.
The Redskins need to start.
You got to start evening it up some.
During the 1980s. And early 90s, that was a really vicious rivalry. I don't know that it really is anymore. And there are also, again, quite a few guys that have played for both teams.
Yeah.
Quite a few.
And you get, of course, the Lakers and Celtics.
The thing about the Lakers and Celtics is it's just so spotty. They don't play each other often, and they don't play each other in the finals very often at all anymore. And I mean, it was a big deal when it happened in 2008, 2009. When was that?
Yeah, 7, 8, something like that.
That felt kind of cool, but. No, I mean, the thing about Duke and North Carolina is that the graduates on graduation day can throw their hats and hit each other. I mean, they're like 800 feet apart.
9 miles.
And that's the thing that to me makes it really unique. I will say this though, if it were, it would be an even bigger rivalry if it wasn't so basketball centric. Clemson and South Carolina is a really nasty rivalry in virtually any sport except for basketball. In basketball, nobody cares. We've talked about that.
Yeah.
Baseball, people care. Football, people definitely care. So, I mean, there's that. But again, you don't have South Carolina keeping its part of the deal the way Duke and North Carolina both have, obviously with multiple national titles.
Well,
two of the most renowned coaches.
Well, I feel like with Duke and North Carolina, with you guys in Clemson, man, it's almost like a hatred. Like you can feel it.
There's not enough mutual respect. It's one of those things with a lot of people you just don't even want to bring it up.
Right, but when you talk about Duke and North Carolina, man, it's almost like I don't like Duke, and I want to see Duke lose every single time they go. But there, like you just said it, there is that mutual respect at the end of the thing that we know, okay, we're going to get them some, they're going to get us some. At the end of the day, if we play 100 times, we're probably going to win 50, and they're probably going to win 50.
I've never thought I'm really not listening to you. I'm thinking. I'm thinking
that would be first.
Ohio State, Michigan. I've never got that. They don't live in the same state. They don't. I mean, that's a cheap out, man. That's easy. I have to deal with Clemson fans all the time. They walk around in their garish clown uniforms. I have to see them. I have to talk to them. I even have to act like I like some of them. All right. The one that I think you could throw up out of the college football ranks is the Iron Bowl. Because those guys, they live on top of each other. And the difference is, and this is why I'm going to give North Carolina and Duke the slight nod, is because Alabama has accomplished noticeably more than Auburn has. Auburn does have national titles, but they are not Alabama. No. Whereas with Duke and North Carolina, man, it just feels like a perpetual slugfest that just goes back and forth. And yes, one team gets dominant, the other team, but you know that both of them are always going to come back. Yeah. So I mean, you know, I'm not the college basketball fan you are, but I mean, I'm hard pressed to come up with one that just clearly trumps it. I don't think so.
Yeah, I know that I'm a little biased, but to me, this is clearly, in my opinion, this is the best rivalry in sports. There's nothing like when Duke and Carolina get together. I cannot wait for tomorrow night. They can't get here fast enough.
When do you get nervous before the games? I'm a nervous wreck before we play Clemson in football. Yes. I can't sleep the night before.
Yes. I can't sleep afterwards. When it's over, I can't sleep.
No matter what the outcome is?
No matter what the outcome is. If we win, I start thinking about what happened. I'm happy about what happened. If we lose, the blood pressure goes up. I start getting aggravated.
Yeah.
I just
can't. So it's just an awful experience for you either way.
I don't think I've ever just gone when it's over with, just gone right to bed.
Now, Clemson Kev and I have had this talk many times, but he agrees with me. When we beat Clemson in football, I'm not happy. I'm relieved. And when we lose, I'm miserable. So I'm never happy.
Oh, yeah.
I'm never like, yes. I mean, like, not ever. I'm just, thank God I don't have to worry about it for another year.
I don't know.
Is that how you are?
I have a buddy, and when we were younger, we would go a few times.
A buddy who is a Duke fan.
A buddy who is a Duke. I've got one. That's all I can take. I've got one.
It's definitely not this guy.
No, I can remember going to his house and watching Duke Carolina games. It was kind of in that Matt Doherty era, right? May have been start of the Roy Williams where he was
before Matt Doherty lost all interest in basketball and started chewing tobacco and hanging out with NASCAR guys.
It may have been right when Roy kind of started and was cleaning up the mess, but I remember one night being at his house and I think Chris
Just
Duhon,
to be clear, not Roy's house.
No, a buddy's house. We lost because Chris Duhon.
So I was going to say, I haven't heard that story.
We hit a shot and tied the game up. Duhon takes the inbounds pass, goes all the way down the floor, lays it up in Chapel Hill, lays it up at the buzzer, wins the game. Man, I stormed out of his house, didn't say goodbye, didn't say anything. I threw my hat. Kicking the door open. I don't think I talked to him for like a week.
Because it was his fault.
Yes. And we would go, this is no joke, we would go like at least 3 or 4 days after the game where neither one of us would call the other one.
It's because it was awkward.
Yes.
I mean, even if you wanted to, you didn't know how to start. Right.
Yeah. Man, sorry you lost? No? And you didn't really want to talk, the other one didn't really want to talk to him anyway.
Right.
Yeah, I don't want to talk to you about the game, but
people talk about.
I guess you get a little older and we've matured a little bit, but
I don't feel like. I mean, people talk. We spend a lot of time.
Sometimes I pine for those days where we would just be angry at one another all the time.
People spend a lot of time talking about how divided America is politically, and I mean, you and I have had political conversations. We're obviously not going to have them on the air here.
We can.
We're not. We can start another podcast. We're already having a hard time with, Czechoslovakian refugees wanting to listen to our show because they think the border war is about something else. But anyway,
Central District
you and I are pretty different people politically, and we're pretty different people sports-wise or whatever else. But I don't feel like anything can make people as angry as sports do.
No.
It's not even on the same.
It's because you get tired of hearing about the other stuff, and so this becomes your refuge. This becomes something you do to take your mind off the other stuff, and there's just a lot to it.
And let's be honest. I mean, it's you pick your teams, right? And I mean, this is, not to get too deep here, but that is what separates our show from all the other crap that's out there, is our ability to just take it there. And by our, I mean mine. But like my choice of the Washington Redskins, for example, okay, I didn't grow up in a football house. Your dad was a big basketball guy. My dad wasn't a big sports guy at all. So I grew up in sort of a sports vacuum. All right. I was drawn to the Redskins for very specific reasons. I became a South Carolina fan for very specific reasons that I do think have something to do with my personality. Does that make sense? So, like, your allegiances to teams aren't purely random. Like, and I kid you a lot about your secondary teams, but your attraction to the Nebraska Cornhuskers. I mean, I think there was probably something about Tom Osborne and something about that option offense that appealed to you as a person. So I think on some level it is very personal to us, even though there are 100,000 people pulling for the same team. Does that make sense, or am I just leaving you in the dust here?
I'm wondering how the hell we got from Duke to Carolina to that.
Well, because that's what it is. I mean, like
what?
Like, so we talked to a friend of ours this week who's a big South Carolina fan in everything except for basketball. And my point is, whatever it was that drew him to Duke basketball, was something that is innately him.
It's because they were good and South Carolina was bad, and they're on TV and South Carolina's not. To me,
but you take my deep point and just wad it up and throw it back in my face like that's awful. That's why we can't get along.
Quit talking circles, man. That's it. South Carolina basketball for years was, for a big gap of time, was largely irrelevant, and Duke and North Carolina, Kentucky, they were not. So they're on TV all the time, and
that's weak. That's a weak fan right there.
It's not weak.
It's deplorable.
Yeah, I don't agree with it, but
well, I mean, it's easy for you. You pull for 2/3 of the teams on the planet at one point or another.
So
you probably like the Rock and Roll Express and the Midnight Express. That's just the kind of guy you are.
No, I was a Four Horsemen guy. So
I like the theme song for the Midnight Express. You remember what it sounds like?
No.
I can't sing it, but I can hear it. You don't want me to sing it.
No, we don't.
Because there's no words.
We're going to get back. I'm going to steer the ship back because you have Titanic'd us into an iceberg. So we're going to get
trying to make it.
We're going to get back to actual sports talk. BG,
hey,
who's got more at stake Thursday night? Duke or North Carolina?
Duke.
Why?
Duke has a chance to win a national title this year. North Carolina does not.
Yeah, see, I think North Carolina's got more at stake Thursday night because I think North Carolina is in a position where they could go either way. Yeah, North Carolina has been the team that everyone has thrown the arrows at and taken the shots at and torn down and had their weaknesses exposed. I think Thursday night is a chance to, they had a rough first half the other night against Pittsburgh, where Pittsburgh
they had a lot to shake off in that game.
Even Pittsburgh was hitting threes at a ridiculous rate in the first half before they locked down and kind of righted the ship a little bit. I think Thursday night is a chance for North Carolina to get back on that national stage, back in that.
If you want to say, that's a different question though. What you're saying, I think, is that North Carolina has more to gain from winning.
Well, I think that's it. It's the same thing.
But a loss kind of stamps the season as being what it's already looked like.
Well, I think a loss puts you at 6-6. It pretty much ends any hope you have of getting a double bye in the ACC tournament.
Yeah.
Whereas with Duke, I think, kind of like with Kentucky the last handful of years, whatever their weaknesses are, people are going to write those up and chalk those up to them being young and keep saying, well, at some point the lights could come on, they're going to get it. Whereas North Carolina, this is an experienced group. The guys inside notwithstanding, this is an experienced group. They played a lot of basketball.
That's kind of a big asterisk, though.
What's that?
Roy Williams is coach. The guys inside notwithstanding. I mean, that's the problem.
Yeah, but we played a lot of basketball and a lot of big games. So I think the Tar Heels have got got more. So, I mean, this is, either their season is going to turn around and they're going to get back in the Final Four talk and back in that group, or this is going to be, if they go out and look terrible Thursday night, they're going to get written off and they're going to be just another team.
I mean, one other way to put it, though, is in the true sense of the term, neither team has any more at stake, really, than they ever have. Both teams are going to be – I think both teams are going to – well, North Carolina's going to be better next year. I think North Carolina will be better next year.
Will be interesting. I don't know if we'll be better.
Look, I just think – I have a lot of faith in Roy Williams as a coach. I like –
It's hard. It's going to be hard to lose Joe Barry and get better.
I get that. But keeping Joel Berry wasn't enough to make you good. I mean, so I get both sides of it. I mean, he's just got everything on him right now.
It's a bad man.
Everything's on him right now.
Yeah.
But when I think about, I mean, I don't mean personality-wise, but I think Roy and Frank Martin have a lot in common in the way they sort of try to build teams.
Mm-hmm.
And Kay's sort of taking himself out of that realm now. We're in a different place with Duke. The one thing you can count on for Duke next year is whatever their team is, it will have nothing in common with this year's team.
No, it will be completely different. You're right.
And I think if there's a couple of guys, if they could keep, then I think they would win a national title next year. But I don't think they keep any of those guys. And like you've pointed out, everybody they're bringing in,
they all play the same position.
They all play the same position, which is why I'm saying I think this year, that strong inside game they've got with Bagley. I mean, I think this year feels like they need to go pretty deep in the tournament, because I don't think next year is going to go the way everybody thinks it's going to go. And with North Carolina winning it all last year, I mean, Duke sort of needs to justify that national stage in the next couple of years
to keep pace.
because Krzyzewski's not going to coach forever. And he's one more back surgery away from probably just wanting to stay at the house. I mean, that's not a fun place to feel pain. I think if Duke's going to win another national title under Coach K, it needs to happen in the next 3 seasons. And that's why I think games like this are pretty high pressure for them. You guys know that you're not going to have Roy forever. I mean, let me hand you a tissue. I know that's hard to admit. But North Carolina basketball, it's a different vibe from Duke. I mean, I feel like there's more of a, what's the word I'm looking for?
Class?
There's more of no, that's not the...
Respectability?
There's more of a narrative at UNC. Like, there's a continuity, between Dean and Roy all the way back. Right. Whereas with Duke, you feel like, I mean, they might try to bring a Krzyzewski guy in, but that isn't even a real term.
It's the brotherhood.
A Krzyzewski thing, but that brotherhood thing feels like it's in quotes to me.
I know.
It's like giving yourself a nickname. Does that make sense?
Like what?
It's like giving yourself a nickname. And if I'm going to give you a nickname, I can call you something. You can't tell me what your nickname is. Other people have to give you a nickname. You don't get to just say, oh, by the way, man,
T-Bone.
I need you to call me T-Bone.
T-Bone.
Yeah, that's obnoxious. So, And I know what that looks like because South Carolina does it all the time. South Carolina tries to invent this sports culture. What are you doing?
We're not talking about South Carolina. They stink, man.
But I'm talking about... Okay. You know what? I'm going to go make myself a sandwich. I'm going to make myself a sandwich and have a Star Crunch. And you just do your motto cast here. And it's the second time you've done that today.
Tomorrow, 3 p.m., the NBA trade deadline. I was thinking it was today for some reason. It's tomorrow. If you paid any attention, all the word is... Will they or won't they? BG, are the Cleveland Cavaliers, will they or should they make a move at the deadline?
I don't know.
You don't know?
Nope.
No idea.
Never heard of them.
Never heard of the Cleveland Cavaliers.
They need to do something. Look,
I don't think that there's anything they can do.
This is the NBA deadline. This trade deadline. We desperately all want there to be big stories out there. There ain't nothing going on. Nothing's going on.
I think the Hornets traded Johnny O'Bryant and 2 second-round picks.
Oh, well, never mind then. That's
Willie Hernan-Gomez.
No, You're the only person in the United States that knows that. Like the people on ESPN's NBA coverage, they don't know that.
Yeah,
You're the only guy.
The only one, huh?
Probably so.
if you watch these things, you can go online to ESPN. You can play the little trade machine thing. The name that keeps getting floated around out there, Tyreek Evans from Memphis, they pulled it up the other day and said, yeah, they could make that move for Tyreek Evans, but the problem is they pay you. They're so far into the luxury tax now that making the trade for Evans cost them like an additional $15 million. So
explain the luxury tax real quick for listeners who don't know. It's basically a way to cheat the cap, right? I mean,
it's basically you can go over the cap to sign your own free agents. And so and if if you hit that threshold, you pay a percentage. And if you hit a percentage, if you hit it again the next year, it goes up and it keeps going up and up. The percentage you have to pay goes up and up and up. Well, they're in it. I think they call it the repeater tax. I mean, they're in it. Like 4 or 5 years in now, and so they're doubling or tripling or whatever it is. So they're so hamstrung right now. And they're in the same boat with so many other teams that there isn't extra money, there isn't a move that can be made because these owners know I can't compete with Golden State, I can't compete with Houston, can't compete with Boston. There's no reason for me to be paying this tax.
Is anything else going on with the Clippers?
They signed. Lou Williams was the man that he and DeAndre Jordan, but they signed Lou Williams to an extension today. So I don't know what the Clippers are doing, but.
Well, we talked about how they needed. It looked like to us they were going to go ahead and punt.
Well,
the
Wizards have. I think the Wizards have called about the deal with DeAndre Jordan involving Gortat, but it's just not. It's just not happening. It's just not. Enough.
I think it's the same thing we end up talking about. Look, we talked about it this summer. We previewed the NBA, and. To me, after all the thunder, pun intended, of this offseason, right? Mm-hmm. And all the noise and all that we've talked about here. The NBA's biggest problem continues to be that the East, you got Cleveland, you've got Boston, you've got the Warriors, not the Warriors, you've got the Wizards, and they're all sort of just fighting to see who lines up and loses to Golden State. Mm-hmm. And yes, if you're listening, put the Rockets in that category, put the Spurs in that category, put the Timberwolves in that category, put them all in that category. Mark it down. We both agree, this is Tan Man's opinion too, nobody in the NBA is going to beat Golden State in 7 games. It's not going to happen.
I find it hard to see that. But if you going back to Cleveland,
but those moves are all future moves. Yes,
going back to Cleveland, Windhorst said today, off the record, of course, he said the one name that he's hearing that the Cavs are secretly trying to make a deal happen for is Kemba Walker. Trying to move.
Well,
trying to get Kemba Walker up there.
Question
and get rid of Isaiah Thomas. Are the Hornets? Are they going to pull do you think they're really going to pull the trigger on the Kemba Walker deal? He's got one of the best contracts in the league right now, and he's going to cost a fortune this time next year.
If they get value for him, I'd pull the trigger on it, because they're not doing anything with him. They're not building around him. Free agents don't want to come there. The only chance you've got of doing something in Charlotte is to get draft picks. Hope the ping pong ball falls your way and get some talent.
They're talking the deal that Windhorst was saying was on the table was Walker, Batum, who's got a $20-25 million deal for like the next 3 years. Get that contract off their books with Walker, and Cleveland was offering Isaiah Thomas and their first round pick, not the Nets pick, their pick, which is going to be 25th or something like that.
Given the Hornets' awful financial situation, I still might take that.
I'm not trading Kemba Walker for less than that Nets pick. I really don't want Isaiah Thomas, but Isaiah Thomas will be a free agent, I think, next year anyway.
The thing is, though,
you got to get that Nets pick, don't you?
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Because you have to also exploit the fact that Cleveland's desperate.
Yes,
they're desperate. And you never just take the starting offer. When we think that Nets pick, it could be the 3rd pick in the draft. But I'm all for getting Kemba out of Charlotte. I hate to say it. God, I hate to say it. But we talked about it. What this reminds me of is Steve Smith in Charlotte for the Panthers and they held on to him for too long, and his value lessened, and he still went off and was productive, but they got nothing for him.
Yeah.
And look, Charlotte is in a limited position, and that again, it gets back to my biggest problem in the NBA. I mean, you feel like bad teams in the NFL deserve to be bad because they've continued to make bad decisions. I mean,
that's pretty much Charlotte. Kemba Walker's the only draft pick they've ever hit on.
It's bad. I mean,
the only one.
It's
man.
bad.
I don't think Kemba Walker gets moved. I think he's there next year, and I think if he gets moved, it'll be at the trade day. It'll be this time next year.
Okay, well, let's just do the hypothetical. If Kemba Walker goes to LeBron for this year, does that just fundamentally change the entire East playoff race? Does that make them...
There's such a dumpster fire in Cleveland right now.
I think a lot of their problems have nothing to do with that round ball on the court.
No, I think it's... A lot of their issues are upstairs.
So I'm sure you've heard this. The one rumor floating around is that LeBron is going to consider just taking a year off.
I saw that.
Not playing basketball at all next year.
I saw that.
And I think a lot of that has to do with a combination of his growing questions about what's going on in Los Angeles and concerns that maybe he's not worth what everybody...
Well, I don't think he wants... I don't know if he wants to be in Cleveland. I think he's pretty much tanked that whole financial situation because he's the one that pushed for Tristan Thompson and J.R. Smith and Shumpert to get their deals.
Right.
And now they have no money for anybody else. So he's the one that's done that to himself.
Well, just even like Kyle Korver. I mean, like, you bring these guys in and just like desperate, grabbing anybody we can find. I mean, like, there's no patience.
No,
I got to have somebody.
No, LeBron, that they're in the financial straits that they are. Let's not kid ourselves. It's because of LeBron James, and now he's going to turn around and probably leave them high and dry. And I don't think trading for Kemba Walker, I don't think that entices him to stay at all. I think he's leave. I lean towards he'll be back in Cleveland. I've now switched that. I think that he'll leave. Or I said he would stay. I've switched. I think now he's going to leave. I think it is a total mess up there. And for some reason, he's held on to this idea that he's not going to waive his no trade. Man, I'd get out of there. Yeah, if they could work out a trade to Philadelphia today and I was him, I'd be gone.
Yeah.
Or Washington, I would be gone.
Right.
But who do you think's the biggest name? I don't think it's going to be Kemba Walker. Is there a deal out there? Do you think that there's another big move out there?
I mean, obviously...
Or have we seen the biggest name already?
DeAndre Jordan if it happens. I mean, but I mean, none of the other names being talked about other than those two are big names. Not really.
No,
I mean, if you really follow the NBA, there are some nice role players out there that are being talked about, but not stars.
Not major. Your one name was Boogie Cousins, and Porzingis' name has gotten tossed out. Now those guys are hurt. They're done for the year.
But I mean,
half of LeBron's All-Star team is hurt now.
How is DeMarcus Cousins? I mean, like, if you're even talking about that, can you just, if you're in New Orleans, can you just come out and say we have absolutely no idea what we're doing?
I think that's pretty clear.
We're not going to even give it a year.
No,
we don't have a clue.
And there was some rumor, Anthony Davis's name has even gotten out there. Let them trade Anthony Davis, and if I was a Pelicans fan, I would just quit basketball.
Is there a player you feel sorrier for in the NBA than Anthony Davis? I mean, like, wow, what a waste of a talent. What a waste of a talent. I mean, it's amazing.
No, that's a tough one. You might be right about it. He might be the best player in the worst spot.
Yeah.
Right now, they're hanging on around the fringes of the playoffs. I think the biggest name that's going to be moved has already been moved. I think it's going to wind up being Blake Griffin. I don't think that there's another move out there.
Don't you feel like...
I don't think DeAndre Jordan gets moved. I don't think Lou Williams gets moved. I think it's...
Don't you think after the off-season we had this summer, though, wasn't it sort of bound to be a quiet mid-season trades? Well, because teams fundamentally shifted. I mean, everything... Yeah, it was as live a summer as you can have.
Well, now they've paid. A lot of these teams have paid the price financially for the summer of whatever it was, 2016, where they handed out over $1 billion in contracts the first day or two of free agency. Now it's coming to pay the piper a little bit. So I think they're saying summer of 2019 is setting up to be the next big free agent summer with Kawhi Leonard, and
it also feels like the same as it did, 4 or 5 years ago before, whenever, well, it's been longer ago than that, when LeBron went to Miami that summer before. I mean, I think the league's sort of still holding its breath right now. I mean, that...
Well, he'll be the first dom. Nobody's going anywhere this summer until LeBron decides
that's my
where
point.
he's going.
Well, and I think some of that is preventing these mid-season trades because the GMs don't. Well, if LeBron stays in the East, then this. If he goes to the West, then this. And
listen, this is all of this is on LeBron, because if he would just say yes, I'm staying, or no, I'm not staying, then everybody could have some clarity and start planning. But he's not going to do it. It's not his MO, and so now the whole league is just kind of up in the air.
People that hated on LeBron used to get on my nerves the same way as people that hate on Brady get on my nerves now. But I'm going to be honest. I've soured quite a bit on LeBron James in the past 2 seasons. He's worn thin for me. His antics on the court are really irritating. The flopping is nauseating to me, and his whiny off court.
If you remember the end of Kobe's tenure in LA, the last few years, and they couldn't, after they moved and made the moves and got Steve Nash and Dwight Howard, and that went south from day one.
Yes,
and after that, nobody would touch the Lakers with Kobe Bryant. No free agents, nobody. He couldn't get anybody. How close are we to LeBron being in that boat where guys are like, man, I'm just not going to want to play with this guy.
I think
we're close.
I think we're close.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah,
because like I said, I mean, you're talking about a casual NBA fan like with me, and I mean, I'm not watching him every night, and he's kind of on my last nerve.
Look, he's the best player. He should be the leader of this team, and whatever's going on up there, as long as you've got LeBron James, you should not be 4 games from being in the 8th playoff spot or whatever it is. They're like 7.5 games out of first place right now.
Yes,
they're closer to 8th place than they are first place.
I mean, I really
happened.
think, and I don't even think this is that big of a statement anymore. I mean, I think Boston owns them in a 7-game series. I really do.
I don't know that they get to Boston.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, I think that might be the more radical question: is do they even make it to the Eastern Finals?
I think Toronto has overtaken them. They haven't. I mean, they've been overtaking them in the standings. I think Toronto's overtaken them as the best bet to challenge the Celtics in the playoffs. I think this is a different Raptors team than we've seen the last few years. I think they're better, and they've got some experience now. I think the Raptors are going to be the ones that take that spot. And I think Cleveland's going to be. I think the Cavs get bounced early, unless they make a move, which I find it hard to believe they will. If they get up Friday morning or go to bed Thursday night and they haven't made a move, and this is the team that they have now, is the team they're going to finish with, that team is going to be a mess.
In the offseason, we talked about this team, and I think both of us pointed out we thought our primary concern was just their age. They had brought in a team that 5 years ago would have been unstoppable.
There's a soccer show on TV. I'm going to change that immediately.
I don't blame you.
Right now, the Cavs are set up to play. If the season ended today, the Cavs are the 3. They're going to play in the first round. My Indiana Pacers. I think the Pacers beat them in the playoff series. If they don't make a move, and this is the team they have, the Pacers beat them in that playoff series.
I think you make the case that the Pacers are the best team no one talks about, especially considering they're in the East, where there's really not going to be a ton of competition in the playoffs. But I don't think either one of us saw with bringing Dwayne Wade in. I mean, of all the things I thought the Cavaliers were going to have to deal with this year, just internal drama was not that high on my list. No. Because it felt like LeBron controlled things, but he always seemed sort of capable of controlling
but this is typical LeBron. This is the way it always ends. It ended this way in Cleveland the first time. Go back and watch the Game 5 of that NBA Finals series when San Antonio beat them in 5, the LeBron's last year in Miami. That team quit. Yeah. And a lot of nonsense going on. This is the same thing right here. Only this time, I don't think that there is a NBA Finals at the end of the rainbow.
No, I agree with you there. I think right now, you're crazy if you think they're going to make it that far. And I mean, they're openly criticizing each other in the locker room. Isaiah Thomas just seems done with the whole group.
You just see the highlights there. I mean, their problems are on defensive end, and it starts with that guy right there, LeBron James, and he's not putting in the effort. If he's not going to put in the effort, and the guys aren't going to see him do it, then they're going to follow what he does. And
when somebody openly criticizes him in the locker room, even if they don't use his name, that tells you something.
Yep. All right. On to our picks list. BG last week had a 4-6 week. You dropped to 9-11. I went 6-4. I'm 11-9.
You're not really making people want to listen to this segment of the show, man.
Yeah. Well, if you're a degenerate gambler, listen to what me and BG pick and go and bet the opposite. First game on the list this week, 1 versus 2 in the Big Ten. 14th ranked Ohio State at number 3 Purdue. I'll start us off. I think Purdue is one of the best teams in the country. They're at home. I think Ohio State's been a nice story, but give me the Boilermakers. I find it hard to believe that Purdue's going to lose at home.
I think you can make the case that Purdue is the best team in the country right now, and probably has been for about a month now. Yeah. Give me the Boilermakers.
Next on the list, we're going to the Ivy League. I don't know about you. I'm sure Harvard and Penn and Princeton on Friday nights on ESPN. I'm sure that really dominates your Friday evenings.
I had planned on taking my wife out to dinner. No longer.
Not now.
I didn't even realize this was a thing, but I'm watching it.
Penn, number 1, undefeated in the Ivy League after their win against Princeton last night. They get Tommy Amaker and the Harvard Crimson on Saturday night in Cambridge. First place versus second place. This Harvard team not as good as the Harvard teams that he's had the last few years. Penn looks like they're going to roll through the Ivy League, though, man. Give me the Quakers.
I'm going to take Penn, too. What time do Harvard students go to bed? They probably have to be in bed at like 7:30 to get up for class and stuff, right? I mean, there's not that much of a home court advantage.
I didn't know basketball players had to go to class.
I'm talking about the fans. North Carolina humor.
I didn't think basketball players had to go to class. Anyway, also Saturday night, BG, this one's the one I'll stay up for. They played a couple weeks ago in Spokane. St. Mary's got the Zags that night. The turnaround, the rematch
Let me
Saturday.
pick this one first because you're going to say I'm copying all your picks.
You probably are copying my picks. Saturday, the 12th ranked Zags at St. Mary's. The Gales, number 11 in the standings. All right, BG, you can go first on this one.
Give me Zaga.
Going Gonzaga.
I am.
I agree with you. This has become the premier matchup in the West Coast Conference. Listen to this. 7 of the last 9 tournament championship games, have been Gonzaga versus St. Mary's. Gonzaga has been to 20 conference tournament championship games in a row.
That's amazing.
If St. Mary's wins this one, they will pretty much wrap up first place, which doesn't happen almost ever in that conference.
That's one reason I'm not going to pick.
Gonzaga is not going to go away easily.
No, they are not.
They are not going to just hand that throne to St. Mary's. Next up, USC at Arizona. No, it's not the Gamecocks. The real USC.
Why do you have to take the jokes out of my mouth before I even get to say anything?
The Trojans going out to Arizona to take on the Wildcats. I'll let you go first. I went first 2 times in a row. You go first this time.
I am going to take Arizona. They're the home team. They're the better team.
I agree with you. They will beat USC on Saturday night. They haven't lost at home yet this year. Moving on to the NBA rankings. The Thunder at the Lakers Thursday night. Give me the Thunder over the Lakers. They just played on Sunday. The Lakers beat the Thunder the last time out a few days ago.
Even more reason to take the Thunder.
Yeah, but the Thunder just ended their 4-game skid with a 20-point win over Golden State.
We were both pretty down on this team for a while, but we were wrong.
Yeah.
They're really good.
Yeah, they're really strong. Got a minute left, so we'll speed up the Clippers at the Pistons. The Pistons unbeaten since acquiring Blake Griffin. I'm going with the Pistons.
I'm going with the Pistons, especially considering who they're playing.
Yep. Spurs at the Warriors, BG. Spurs just 12-15 on the road. You got the Warriors and Spurs.
I'm going to go chalk here. There's no reason not to take the Warriors.
Yeah. Cavs at the Celtics. I think the Cavs are a dumpster fire. Give me the Celtics.
Ditto.
Yeah, a bad loss on the road at Orlando the other night. Rockets at the Timberwolves.
Oh! Give me the Wolves, baby. That's my team now.
Finally, the big one. Thursday night, North Carolina at Duke. BG, where are you going?
With the Blue Devils.
You are wrong, sir. Give me the Tar Heels. Number 1 rebounding team in the country is North Carolina Tar Heels. We're going to beat the Blue Devils on Thursday night. See you then.
I think points are what you use. I mean, you can go ahead and hit the closing music there.
Well, it's over. It's over.
That's
the Tar
fine,
Heels will win.
Mark it down.
Mark it down. The Tar Heels will
I wrote down
win
the Duke
the
will
game.
Win.